Hi there, welcome to VTS33 for November 2007. I'm your host Keith. Imagine there's some really cool funky music. I'm almost 3 years into this and I still don't have any cool funky music. I just don't have the funk. I'm funkless. But that's okay. I don't think you're hiring me to be funky. I'm too white. Way too white. Anyways, good to have you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Hope everything's going fantastic in your world. Everything's going well in mine. Thank you very much. So let's get into our sections about what we're going to talk about. What are we talking about this month? Well, we're continuing with our facial animation. Facial animation. Yes, facial animation. We've talked a lot about a lot of different things, but we've talked about the brows and the eyes. We just started Lipsynch the previous video, so we're going to continue with that. Last video we covered the simple, basic, what I call Muppet theory of getting your lip-sync structured correctly. Okay, there's 3 parts that I think are really important to getting the structure of lip-sync working. Okay, 1 is opens and closes, and 2 is narrows and wides, and the 3rd is emotional expression. I wanted to take some extra time to talk about emotional expression, so that's what we're going to do in this video. So with no further delay, okay, that was a delay, but let's get going. Alright, so the reality is, we're not here just to do lip sync. I mean, when we make a performance, the whole goal is to express a living being. Okay, somebody who's alive, somebody who's thinking and feeling and is in that moment. So much so that the audience loses track that they're watching a computer animation or they're watching drawings or whatever it is, whatever medium we're using. They lose track of that and they just get caught up in the moment and they believe that that character is alive. Now, a lot of that comes from performance choices. Okay, are we choosing the right way to express a moment in a character's life? A lot of times we choose animate-y ways. Okay, animate-y means, gosh, I saw that in another animated movie done a long time ago, so let me copy it, or let me copy a copy of a copy. Okay, so we end up with these cliches. Okay, and so that's another issue. We've talked a lot about, you know, performance and how to choose body language that works well, and you can look at the videos and the back issues for that. But for this issue, we're talking about how to express a sincere, believable emotion in the face, okay, as a foundation of lip sync. All right. Now, the way I usually do this is when I'm blocking. If you're wondering, well, how does Keith block? VTS, you know, 17, SE, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It gives you an idea of what I'm trying to do there. Normally, I do what folks in computer animation call step blocking, which is really just blocking like you would with a hand-drawn animation, which is you do, you know, as many drawings as you need, but you don't do more than you need, okay? And you hold those drawings until the next one comes on, so you can get your timing worked out. I wrote a tutorial about that a long time ago, you know, organized keyframe, all that fluff, you know, that launched this silly career of mine. But the point here being is use those drawings, okay, for more than just the body. I use those drawings for the face and the body. Because here's the deal. When you're going into dailies with a director, you do not want to have to explain anything. In fact, the perfect dailies for me is I don't have to say anything except okay or thank you. That's it. If they ask for a change, I say okay. If they say it's good, I say thank you. That's it. I don't have to explain what's going on. If the director has to stop and say, what's happening there? I failed. Okay, at least in expressing my blocking. I didn't capture that idea and express it clearly. The director's got to look at, usually a typical dailies is, you know, he's in there hour or two, he's looking at 20, 30 different shots maybe. So he's got a lot of things to do, and directors are busy. You know, you want to be busy, be a director. Okay, I've done it a couple of times, and I'll tell you, your life is hopping. So these guys appreciate it when you make their job easy, and their job is real simple. They're thinking big picture about the film. All right, most directors in animation used to be animators, so they have a tendency to sometimes get tempted into being an animation supervisor to you, but a lot of good ones really don't bother with that. They understand I'm thinking big picture, telling the story. I'm looking at the larger flow of the river of this narrative here. And it's important that at this particular point, this scene has to express a few clear, basic emotions or ideas or thoughts or actions that fit with the larger flow of the narrative. And that's pretty much their concern. So it's not their job to give you notes on your animation. All right, some will do that. The better ones don't. Okay, they trust their animation supervisors and animation directors and lead animators to do that for you. Okay, their job is to just look at what you give them and give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's like the Coliseum, man. You're fighting the lions, yeah, and the bears and stuff. So yeah, you're out there like a gladiator, an animation gladiator. You get to wear the cool helmet, you know, and get all bloody. Well, maybe not, but you get the idea. It's a thumbs up, thumbs down sort of deal. Thumbs up, I like where it's going. I understand it. Go ahead. Thumbs down, it's not working. Change this, this, and this. Okay. If a director has to stop and say, what's going on here? Or what's he thinking? Or what's he doing? You didn't do your job well. Okay? You didn't do it well enough, perhaps. One of the things I found earlier on in my career was if I put facial expression that matches the moment and also sort of matches the phonetic sounds of what's going on in that moment, meaning if a guy's going, hey, he says, hey, how's it going? If I break that down into particular drawings, I'll have a drawing that looks like this. Because he's saying, hey, and he's got an expression. He's got emotion, okay? Now, the last video, we just used the jaw up and down and the mouth in and out to get the very basic structure of good lip sync, okay? What we're going to use this time is those extra controllers, the emotion controllers, the muscle things, the lip deformers, and all those extra goodies that we get to use in animation. If we have a good rigger, or if we're drawing them, we can just draw them. That's fantastic. And it's really important to come up with a couple of things here. One is you want to express the emotion very clearly. It has to be alive. It has to match the moment. It's easier to build the emotional shape of the face around the phonetic reality of the speech. Okay? What I mean by that is, if a guy's going, hey! All right? The phonetic reality of that speech is his mouth is open and the mouth is wide. Okay? So what you need to do is you need to get the phonetic reality first. Okay? That's devoid of any emotion. Then what you do, and you'll know where that is in the track if you break down your scene and you say, okay, I'm going to put a key pose here and a key pose here and a key pose here and a primary breakdown there, there, and there. Even if you just do that, okay, and you construct the face to match that moment in the soundtrack, you know, that frame. This is where getting into the practice of using X sheets is really, really helpful. You know, people in computer animation are like, why do I need to use an X sheet? I got a timeline, I got a scrubber, you know, I got the audio track right there. Why do I need to break it down on a piece of paper like the guys did back before all this cool computer stuff? Well, it makes your job easier once you get in there if you want to try it, okay? I don't always use a breakdown sheet. Sometimes I do, just to kind of keep myself up on it. But it's a good thing to try, okay? Because it teaches your brain to think in a certain way. So what you do is you just, you know, take the audio and you just get a piece of paper. I mean, X sheets are available, you know, look for them. Go on animationmeet.com. I'm sure they have X sheets up there, all right? And get it down and print it out. And really what it is just, it's a piece of paper and it's just numbered for frames, all right? And you got little different rows for different things. This is real simple, okay? So what you do is you just listen to it, or maybe you need some way to kind of analyze where the sound is happening. Well, bring it into your audio program or bring it into your 3D program and scrub, but listen and watch where things are happening on the frame, okay? So you scrub through it. Okay, right here at frame 4, it's like an M sound. Okay, so you're right at frame 4, M, okay? And then scrub through and you're like, okay, frame 8, it's an O sound. So we're down here in the X sheet, you write O next to number 8, okay? And what this is doing is it's helping you understand where the various phonetic sounds are. Then what you do is in a second column, okay, usually X sheets have multiple columns, so you use one column to break down the dialogue, okay, and you're writing this out. It's not a bad thing. Pens and paper, you know, it's like if the power goes out, you'll still know how to animate. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So Yeah, you break it down and you write what the phonetics are or what the sounds are, what's happening, and next to the corresponding frame number that they occur. And then what you do is you listen through it, you think, okay, I think this would be a pose here or that would be a pose there, and you thumbnail, you try your different things. So what I would do is I would thumbnail it out, and I would, usually on my thumbnails, I write like the number of whereabouts that frame is going to be. Well, what you could do is do that on your X sheet. Second column, I've seen X sheets that actually have little thumbnail spots in them, so you can just do a little thumbnail drawing where you want. I find I'm not good enough to draw perfectly the first time, so I use little Post-it notes or a piece of paper. When I get it, I cut them out and I tape them onto the X sheet, because where it belongs, and I put the note. So if he's like this at frame 6, and he's like that at frame, we'll call it 12, 14, maybe, back like this at 6, and he holds there, you put a little note, okay, hold for 3 or whatever, and then forward, and he hits this on 12 to kind of like, hey, it's one of those things where, okay, that's going to be a big thing, I'm going to put a keyframe there. So what you got here is you got one column of phonetics, okay, and I'll show you this stuff, all right, I'll have one all done up for you so you can see how it looks. You have one column with the phonetics and another column that marks what the keys are. All right. What you want to try and do is when you make the key, take that phonetic along with the emotion and build it into the face. Not a bad idea, is it? So think about this. We've got like a guy's gonna scream to tell some kid not to to get away from the road because a car is coming or something. So he's like, maybe in anticipation like this, he's like, get out of there. So you build this into the face, okay? And when he screams, hey, you could build that phonetic up and down, in and out, phonetic structure, plus the emotional structure with all the extra deformers and things on top of it to create a unique shape. And here's the real power of this. One thing is, if you just do that for that key, and then go to the next key, whatever he's saying at the moment of that key, okay, you broke the scene down, right? You worked it through, you got your thumbnails, you got your ideas, you know what you want to do, you got your keyframe right there. Go ahead and put in the phonetic structure for what he's kind of saying at that moment. It doesn't have to be exact. Trust me, you're not going to get it exactly right. But if he's saying something like, go get the paper, all of that could be said, but the emotion is kind of like, just get out of here, right? Well, go get the paper. How much of that is really changing? You see, you just kind of choose one, like a halfway open, it's all relatively low grade, right? Go get the paper. Not too much in and out. So you say, maybe he's saying go. So you make the pose, the keyframe is like this, and you build a go, and then you make the emotional reality on top of it, go. And now what you have here is a shape that's unique, but specific, and is appropriate for the moment, okay? So what you get here then is, and this is really, really cool, you take it to the director in dailies, and it's almost like he's watching the character animated. Actually, he is. It's just that you don't have all the in-betweens done. But you see the character's mouth and emotions and all that stuff is working with the body to communicate a very clear idea of what's really happening inside this character's mind. So this is really cool, because you'll see, maybe there's 5 or 6 drawings in there like that, and the face is changing to kind of match the dialogue, so it looks like he's kind of keeping up, which is cool. Better than this. Go get the haker. Which I see a lot of times guys will do. They'll get the body going, but the face is just a blank. It's all default. Or worse, the eyes are targeted off over here, and their eyes are rolled up back in their head or something. So when you don't build out the face like that starting off, you handicap yourself. You make your job harder, because there's 2 ways you can go about this. You can build it structurally, like I'm talking about, or you can rely on things like shape libraries. All right, which a lot of people do if you're in a hurry. If you got to do like a minute of animation a week, I guess shape libraries is the way to go. But I've done this stuff on some pretty high footage rate stuff, and it works, okay? But if you do shape libraries, every time a character does an M, it looks the same, because you just clicked on M in the shape library, and the software, depending on what software you're using, or whatever software your studio's using, if you're using shape libraries, it looks canned, okay? It looks like a can of Pringles, You open up a bag of real good kettle baked potato chips, You hold up two chips, they never look the same. All right? That's how you know they're good potato chips. You open up a can of Pringles, you hold up two chips, they look exactly the same. You know why? Because they're mashed potatoes baked down into these little wafer things, okay? They're not as good. All right, so you don't want to do like bad imitation potato chips kind of animation. You want to do the good, kettle baked, crunchy, like mesquite flavored, hot jalapeno flavored, okay? You want to do the good animation. So if you do the shape libraries, what you have is things with shape libraries tend to look understated, okay? They lack intensity. They lack that pop for the moment. The reason why is because shape libraries are often built by modelers. And modelers want their models to look pretty. They really do. That's their love of life. They love to make their models look pretty. So they don't like to do too much that makes their models look goofy, like this. They're usually not into that. Animators like that. So good shape libraries are built by animators, but even then, you kind of have to think, well, I'm building this phonetic shape library, like I'm making an M or a B or a P, okay? I'm making this shape, but it has to work across all different kinds of scenarios. So by nature, it's not very unique, and it's not very expressive. So when you use shape libraries, you can get the job done quickly, but it's kind of limp, you know? It's just like noodles. It doesn't have any pop to it. It doesn't have any life to it. And it takes so much work to then take shape library animation and then use all the extra deformers to kind of pull things around and get the emotion laid in on top of that, okay? So if you go through and you create the lip sync with shape libraries with all those deformers of the lips and stuff like that, which they usually use, then you have to go back and kind of destroy what you put in there automatically and build it by hand. Well, why not just build it by hand from the start, okay? Why put up something with an automatic button push and then spend time destroying it to make it look good? Okay, so you have to tear down certain parts of it and rebuild certain parts of it. It doesn't really make any sense. So when you're dealing with something like that, you gotta think, okay, I could just hit this button and get an M, but I'm going to get all these other controllers in shape. You know, I'm going to get all these, you know, lip controls and all these channels and attributes working, and I'm going to have to make that emotional, to make that read, I'm going to have to go ahead and alter so much of that stuff. Whereas if you go ahead and approach it, you know, the way I showed you last video, we use 2 controllers and maybe 3 channels, okay? That's pretty simple. And you don't mess with all this other stuff. You're leaving all that other stuff free to build the emotion on top of it, and then also craft the phonetics a little more accurately, okay? Because an F is different than an M, okay? But your jaw open and ins and outs can't give you an F. All your lip deformers give you an F, okay? So you could use the library as a starting point if you want, and I've done that when I've been in a hurry. It just bam, bam, if I know it'll work. But if I don't think it's going to work, or if it doesn't fit the moment, I don't use it. Because I'd rather take 10 minutes or 15 minutes to build the shape the way I want, that's phonetically on target, kind of accurate, okay? But is also emotionally expressive, and it's an interesting shape, okay? It's artistically pleasing, and it's interesting to look at. I'd rather take 15 minutes to do that than 15 seconds and then 5 or 10 minutes to kind of find out what happened in there, and then 15 minutes to make it right, okay? That's just the way I approach it. So you get that structure, okay? Open and closed, in and out for phonetics. And then for each of these keys, and I usually do it for my keys and my primary breakdowns. I don't usually bother too much until the end of the scene after I'm done animating. I usually don't bother with the rest of the lip sync, like on secondary breakdowns and anticipations, unless they're really important. But if you can just get the basic structure of phonetics working, if you block like I show, if you block like, you know, kind of approach things like I do, then you can build it on a key and on a primary breakdown. Key, primary breakdown. And if you want, you can get adventurous and you can get right down to the details, and you can do it on secondary breakdowns, moving holds, anticipations. You can into all those things you put into your blocking. Like I do that. My blocking is pretty rich. If I have a 200 frame shot, I'm going to have somewhere around 50 drawings, okay? That's like 1 in 4. It's like animating on 4s, but it's not on 4s. It's not like every 4 frames I do something. But it kind of gives you an idea how much I try to put into the blocking. If I'm feeling really confident about the performance. And then I show that to the director, and there's no questions at all. They may not like what they see, but they know what they're seeing. That's important. I might not hit what they want me to hit, but they know exactly what I'm hitting. If you give them a scene where a character's just kind of floating around and the face is a blank slate, most directors are going to be like, I guess so. And they're not going to tell you to change much, because you have to then explain so many things through. The first question they're going to say is, what's going on? Or, well, what's he doing right there? Or, it's a sales job, okay? If you want to go home at a decent hour, which I've always wanted to do, I like work, but I don't like working for free, okay? And overtime oftentimes isn't paid in this business. Some studios it is. Hey, if they pay you, they approve it, you don't have anything else to do, whatever, right? Make some money. I've never been in a studio where I got paid for overtime. So I've always just been like, okay, I don't mind working 100%, I'll give you 110%, but you're not getting 200%, and you're not getting 150%, because then you're just ripping me off, okay? And it is a business. You can't forget that. The guys who are way above you, who make the decisions and do all these things, all that money, they want to get as much of your time for as little as their money as possible, all right? That's the reality. Okay, it's a two-way street, okay? You can't just bend over and say, all right, I'll give you whatever you want. No, okay? You can work smart so that you can go home and have your life. Because the opposite is, we want to get as much of their money for as little as my time as possible. Okay, that's a little bit pirate-ish, I guess, but that's the idea, all right? So you want that structure. You want to be able to do that. That's enough of me blabbing about it. Let me go ahead and show you, all right? I'm going to walk you through a quick little scene. It's not very complex or very fantastic, but it shows the idea of what I'm talking about, okay? So let's take a look at that.
Alrighty then, we've got here a scene just like the last video where we're going to use our fun little scratch around character, Moom, and we're going to use a different piece of audio where a guy says, really? Wow. Here, have a listen to it. Really? Wow. Okay, so pretty simple, but there's something there to it. All right, now I just want to do a couple of poses. First, let me just show you, how you can make this work with an exposure sheet. What you can do before you put all the poses in here. In fact, I'll choose some view that's kind of goofy and off and out there. What you can do is you can just scrub through and you can use your 3D program as a way of analyzing the sound. Okay, you can find which frame these sounds fall on, and then in your exposure sheet software, or sorry, not your software, but in your exposure sheet, which I'll show you one right here. Let's see, this is an exposure sheet, and there'll be a JPEG of this and actually a PDF of the thing inside the file, so you can take a look at it. But what you do is you get the frame that you want, and then the dialogue you just write what you want to put right in there, okay? And then this is a place where I like to put my my good thumbnails and little notes and stuff like that, and I put like a number here to describe where this keyframe is coming from. Or you can put all different kinds of things, but this is a little space I like to use for sometimes for my thumbnailing. It keeps my scene planning in order and kind of gives me a roadmap. Say if I go on a long weekend and come back and I'm like, okay, where was this scene again? I can just kind of pick it up, read it, and go right where I'm at. You don't have to do this for CG, and I don't do it all the time, but it's not a bad little practice to try once or twice or 3 times just to say, I know how to use an exposure sheet. That actually means something, especially if you're animating with somebody who's been animating for, I don't know, say 25, 30 years. If you don't know how to do an exposure sheet, they immediately think less of you. And you know what? They probably ought to. So anyways, you can use your audio, you can dialogue your audio right here in your 3D program, and again, record the sounds into the X sheet where you want. The frames right here. You can even write down what's happening and the action. This is a really good one. I like this one a lot. And it just goes on. The frame numbers go on. There's like 50 frames per page or something like that. So that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and show you. I just have some basic poses. The guy's like working on something. He looks up when somebody says like he heard something, the scene before, and he's looking up. He says, really? And there's a little bit of a moving hold right there. Why I put that there? I don't know why I put that there. I just did. And then he says, wow. And then there's the end of that moving hold. Okay? The reason why I put the moving holds there, I do know, actually, is because I wanted to kind of show you how you could, use extra frames. Now I didn't put breakdowns in here or any of that stuff, and I'm not doing this. This isn't full blocking. I'm not doing a scene for you here from start to scratch. I'm just showing you the idea behind, you know, keyframing. Sorry, not keyframing, but you know, blocking in the lip sync with the emotion at the same time. So let's go here and let's kind of, you know, just do our thing. Let's say the guy's kind of working on something, and you know, he's not really sure what kind of, he's not really in any kind of mood. Maybe he's kind of concentrating on something here. You know, so you get a little concentrating face. And I'm just gonna kind of do the brows very simple. Um, I'm not gonna get too tied up into it, but you know, this stuff really does kind of help set the mood to what's going on with the scene. You know, so maybe the guy's like really concentrating on stuff, and you know, really thinking. So just building out the emotion to a scene or something like that. All right, take all these, and we'll just go ahead and keyframe them. So that's not really, he's not really saying anything, but then up here where he hits this pose, we want to hit the really, we want him to be happy. So really, re is like a pretty big thing. All right, we'll take this, we'll put it back. We'll take this and put it up because, you know, it's kind of happy. Take this, open it up a little bit. All right. Alrighty. And we'll just kind of, you know, build this up like he's really happy or really pleased. Like, you know, he asked somebody, hey, would you give me $50? And they said, sure. And he's like, really? So, all right. So there you go. We'll go ahead here and switch the head resolution to, well, it is already high, I guess. Hang on, I'm going to make that head a little bit easier to read. All right, so we fixed that. So there we have it. We have, and it's really just, it's very simple. We built the smile into it. Now, of course, if you had more controllers, you would use more controllers to kind of shape it a certain way. And I kind of want to make, this is about interesting shapes as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some more channels involved here, and you know, just kind of play around a little bit. Get the cheeks up and out. So there you go. Okay, I'll key that. And see that? We're just using some expression and building it right in there. And we know he's saying really, so we're trying to build an E in there at the same time we build the emotion. All right, not a bad idea. Now here he's silent, but we want to keep that emotion. So what we'll do is we'll try and keep the emotion in there. All right. That's not the controller we wanted. Yeah, that's what we wanted. And this, and this, and this. Let's go ahead and even make that bigger. And you know, this is what you can do. You could take your time and really build a fun looking, you know, emotion moment. And so what we got here is really, and then he's happy and he's thinking about it, and then he says wow, like he's like he can't believe it. So maybe here, you know, he just changes his, where he's looking a little bit like he's thinking about it. Okay, and then here he says wow. Now here's something where, you know, I want to just adjust the head because I want the face to read better. All right, And because the way I adjust the head, I also kind of want to adjust the body a little bit. All right. And I want to do the same thing here. So I want to take and build off of these poses to kind of settle him a little bit for this moving hold bit right here. Okay, so maybe we need to rotate him just a little bit forward so he doesn't feel like he's... There we go. A moving hold right there, okay? So right here what I want to do is, for this particular little deal, is I want to say wow. And so I'm going to try and build a bit of a wow in there. Alright. Still keeping the happy. But again, just going for fun, unique, expressive shapes so that when somebody, when a director watches this, they don't have any questions as to what is going on. It'll be easy for them to know what's happening. And let's see. All right. And at the end of the wow, it's a different, it's a wow, so it'll be maybe kind of something a little bit tighter. Okay. And we just use these controllers to kind of still build some emotion to it. It's hard to smile and go a pucker at the same time, but it's possible a little bit. And then we kind of hint a smile right there with that. And then take these guys down and then rotate them. Okay. And so we key that. So what we've done is corresponding with the body blocking, we've built facial blocking that is mindful of the phonetic sound around that pose. Okay, so here he's saying really, so there's an E, there's a big E. Now is it closer to an R and an E? We'll figure that out later. But right now this is pretty darn close to it. And then at the end he's kind of happy and thinking and he's not saying anything. And then here he says wow. Now I know this is a wah right here, but you can shift these keys around later. It's going to be really helpful to kind of see it as it plays through. You'll when you show this in dailies, the director will, even though this is a still frame and it comes a little bit early, from an accuracy standpoint, it really sells that moment, that wow kind of moment, and maybe try and keep a little bit more happy in here. All right. And take these and maybe nudge them up a bit. All right. And of course these are all set to linear, so I'm just going to take these and set them to step. And there we go. So let's watch this. No, not you forgot the cheese. He says, really? Wow. Okay. And let's go ahead and make a play blast of this, and you can kind of watch it and see. Now this is, I would put more detail in here if I were going to send this to dailies, of course, and I'd put some more breakdowns and maybe probably just a few breakdowns just to kind of add some definition to it. And with those major breakdowns, the primary ones, not like the little niggly things here and there, but the primary breakdowns, I would probably continue to add the face in a way that is mindful of the emotion and of the speech for that moment. So if I were to add a breakdown right here, I would make I'd start the smile, but it wouldn't be as big, and I'd make the mouth more like an R because he's going to say really right here. So I'd make the mouth more like an R shape, like a R, kind of a little bit of a pucker, right? And then here there would be a breakdown, but I would probably start to go into a W, like a W, a pucker for a W. This is the big one, and then I probably wouldn't do more than I just did right here. And then at the end, I might have one more moving hold settle out with a face at neutral. Okay, and that's how I would send this scene off to dailies, and that's what the director would look at, and he would know what he's looking at. He's going to look at this and say, "Oh yeah, okay, I know exactly what he actually can even see the guy saying the words." That's how you do lip sync in blocking. Okay, that's like crazy. People are like, you do lip sync in blocking? Kinda. This is how I do it. Do the Muppet Theory stuff and then lay in the emotion. Okay, and then how would you clean this up afterwards? If you get a thumbs up in dailies, you just come back here and you just do Muppet Theory stuff first to get the structure in place, and then what you do is on the keys where you need to do your Muppet stuff. Say you got 2 or 3 keys in here, maybe only one, I don't know. But wherever you have a key, then you go ahead and use the other controllers to kind of build the emotion back into it. So there's always a structure to it. The basic opens and closes and narrows and wides, and then on top of that you just lay in the emotion stuff with all these other little details. And so this is generally how I approach it. You get your keys and your breakdowns and all these little things you're doing, and you just build the face to look like it's saying the sound, but also expressing the emotion for the moment. Anyways, that's enough of me blabbing. Go ahead and watch the play blast of this a couple of times, and maybe that'll make sense. Really? Wow. Really? Wow. Really? Wow.
Hey, now, I hope that explains some things. Hope that made it a little bit clearer-ish. And you can kind of see where the attraction of that would be. There's a definite clarity to it, even though there's no in-betweens. You're holding that drawing for a while, you hold it there and you hold it there, and then, but it reads. And the cool thing, here's the coolest thing about all this. I was doing body animation and all these other things and leaving the face untouched for many, many years. And then one time I decided to just go ahead and, what the heck, I'll just go ahead and do the face here while I was at it. I found a truth that worked really well, okay? Here's the truth. The face affects the body, and the body affects the face. Here's the cool thing. If you approach building the structure of your lip sync this way, you have the ability to create a whole character. Rather than this sense of, the body's doing something and the face is doing something. Like back when we talked about the eyes and the mouth and all that stuff, a couple of videos back, I'm talking about connectivity. This connective tissue here, where you want the whole face to feel like it's a single unit, okay? Well, you want that single unit to feel like it's part of this whole unit, okay? It's the whole character. And I'm finding that if I do the face, if I'm looking for a certain thing, it helps me position the head correctly, and the head position helps me correct the position of the body correctly. And I'm finding that when I do this, the face is telling me what to do with the body. Now that's pretty cool, because what happens is if you put emotion in the face, I found this to be true for myself. Don't know if it's true for everybody, but for myself, here you go. If I put that emotion in the face early on in my blocking, at least the keys and the primary breakdowns, if I put that there in those few drawings, I'm finding that emotional expression really, really helps me push and get the most out of the emotional expression of the body as well. So I'm finding that the face actually makes my body animation better because it's giving me ideas. And that's the cool artistic part about this. I know I'm kind of known as a real structural kind of guy, real analytical, and put things together, and I'm not too fly by the seat of the pants. But I build the structure so that I'm free to try different things, okay? And in this regard, I'm going to do a pose. All right, I'm going to put the face in there. And I'm finding that, that's a really cool expression. I really like where that's going. Now I'm free to kind of push farther inside the structure, okay? So I'm allowed to be really creative. Let's take a look at it like, well, since so many customers are overseas, soccer, football, okay? There's some really, really, really talented players who play soccer. Brazilians all love Ronaldinho, okay? Ronaldinho Gaúcho. I think he plays someplace in Spain. Guy with long hair, teeth like a horse. pretty talented player. Ugly dude, but a pretty talented player. Anyhow, he is extremely creative and very gifted inside the rules. He has to do all this on the field, in a certain part of the field, using only his feet. All the rules still apply to him, but he's allowed to be creative inside the rules. And that's where I think that's where real creativity shines, is when you've got these structures, and you've got these, not rules, but you've got a channel for your creativity. And then that allows you to keep from going all over the place and wasting time and ending up with mush, okay? If you're going to do mush, mash up the potatoes and make the Pringles, okay? That's the cool thing about this. I discovered this a number of years ago, and I've been addicted to this idea ever since, that the face feeds the body, makes the poses even stronger, okay? And you might have even seen that. I might have talked through it, but you may have even seen that as I was working on these poses and putting the face stuff in there, that I would adjust the body a little bit to kind of help the face read a little bit better. And that's really cool. The cool thing about all this, another cool thing, is it makes finishing your lip sync so easy, because you've got these things in there. Then all you have to do, you don't have to figure out everything. You only have to figure out from one to the next how many sounds are in there. And you've already got the emotional mileposts in there, so you don't have to worry about, well, what's his face going to look like at that sound? You've already built it. It's already part of the breakdown. It's already part of what you're doing. So all you got to do is just kind of transition from one to the other that makes sense. And structurally, I'll be honest with you, if you can do opens and closes and wides and narrows on like we showed last video, in a way that really sticks to that moment, feels believable, and you can build these emotional expressions in there. So here's what you do. The order of things, in case people are like, okay, this is all so much information. What's the order? Okay, the order is pretty simple. Get a scene. If you want, you can break down the scene on the next sheet, or not, whatever. Anyways, you're going to have a structure to your blocking, all right? A key, a breakdown, a key, a breakdown, whatever, okay? So you'll have that structure. In that structure, figure out the phonetic basics, opens and closes, wides and narrows, and also the emotional expression you want. All the little controllers to give you the look you want. Do it for that key. And then for the next one, and for the next one, for the next one. So you're done with blocking. Director says, great, move on. What do? Now what you do is you go back to the opens and closes and the wides and narrows, and you fill in the blanks. Okay? Pretty simple stuff. So if you got a key and another key, and he says, ah la la, in between, you go from e, ah la la la. All you got to do is figure out the opens and closes and wides and narrows and all the little things for la 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 la. You know, ah la la la, ooh. Whatever that means. So you've got this little tiny space you have to figure out. And if you just, again, go through and get the opens and closes and wides and narrows, like we talked about, the Muppet stuff, if you get the Muppet stuff working, what more do you need to do? All right, you need, of course, there's details, but it's like wide open, man. It's just like, wow, hey, that could work. I could make that work. So you do key, the stuff in between, Muppet stuff, and then you just clean up the Muppet stuff with the little extra deformers to make sure that the emotional transitions feel proper as well. It's a very, very simple way to do it. Clean up the splines and there you go, my friend. That there is facial animation. It sounds so simple. It kind of is. But that's the lip sync that works for me. And it allows me to get something right away to show to the director, but it also allows me to not spin my wheels and take 2 days to do facial animation, because it just shouldn't take me 2 days to do facial animation. Okay? So anyways, that's our topic for this month. I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that you kind of opened your eyes to some different ways of working. Now, are there other ways to do lip sync? Yes, there are. But this is Keith Lango. The way I do it, you're buying this tape or this video because this is the way I do it. So there you go. There are other ways? Sure, there's other ways. You can look at other resources. I'll just say this is the way it works for me. Helps me get stuff done at a you know, you can tell there's a structure to it. It's logical. It makes sense, but it's still creative. And it doesn't really cut off any opportunities to be creative. It's just channeling that creativity. So there you go. We're going to continue on. Next video, we're going to keep moving on in this section. We're going to keep plugging away. And thanks everybody for hanging in there and for, you know, being a part of the video tutorial service. It's been great, you know. This is 33 videos. Wow. I would have never guessed it. But there you go. And we got more too. I got lessons planned, and it's good stuff. You know, I feel good doing it. And so anyways, all the best. God bless and be good.